So I'm going to be showing you some mark making over top of my already dried watercolor layer, and I'm going to be using my watercolor pencils. I believe any watercolor pencils will do. These are an investment I had made because I am selling my work, so these were more expensive, and they're made by CaranD'ache, made in Switzerland, and they're called Supercolor 2 Soft. So the lead on these watercolor pencils are it's a very, very soft lead. So I just wanted to show some of you how I do my flowers. And what I do is I dip the watercolor pencil into water, and I've practiced these flowers so many times. This is just sort of a flower that I love doing, and you'll get to know what marks you love and develop your own kind of mark making techniques. I'd love to venture out and sort of do more flowers, do different flowers, but what kind of comes naturally when I'm just sort of painting for the joy of it, which I'm doing today. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm just looking for almost like art therapy today, just doing what makes me feel good, and also hopefully inspiring some of you that have been following my channel. So you can see I chose a pencil that was slightly darker in color than the underlying watercolor. And you don't have to dip it every time, but it definitely helps. It helps just to get that. It's kind of a neat effect. It's almost one of those things that if somebody saw the finished painting, they'd be like, you know, what supply was that you used? It almost looks more like some kind of a felt pen. And it's a little bit, it almost lends itself to, you know, taking your watercolor brush and moving the color around in a way that you like. So that's just a really neat effect that I have done. I often, for this, I feel like it's very much a horizontal flower. So I might just kind of bring it around and make it a little bit more vertical. Excuse me. So we'll just kind of bring it together a little bit more. And just see composition wise, if I like that better. I do like that better. And immediately I see another area that I want to work on, just at the top here. I'm going to turn it over again because this just helps me prevent smudging. I'm going to take my my white pencil crayon, water soluble crayon, and I'm just going to do a little bit of line work over top of this grayish area. So that's just another example of a mark that I really like. Sometimes I use my Posca pen, but this time I chose to use the watercolor pencil. One of my favorite black pens for doing my line work is this Posca pen. And there's different tips that come on these pens, but this is one I just love. I find the black one works much better than the white one. And so I'm just going to kind of add a few more lines on this leaf down here, and maybe just thicken the stem a little bit. And I know that in this composition, I love to add a little round moon or sun, sort of whatever somebody may want it to be, because this is, again, abstract and intuitive, and I'm just craving like a pop of orange in here, thinking about maybe here or up here. I think that I like the idea of maybe putting it down here, and I'm just going to be really careful not to smudge that flower. And it's always good to shake your Posca pen before you paint with it, and store them horizontal so that cartridge inside stays wet. So I'm really loving the way this is looking. I see this area here, and it's just calling my name to use this gold Japanese Uniball pen. And I'm gonna do, I love leaf work. I think I'm gonna do some leaf work in here, and you can see this leaf is facing up And those of you that have been following me for a little while know that I like to have sort of the composition. If I see some images going downward, I like to have some going up, and just variety in my work. Right now I just noticed that I'm going to grab my watercolor brush because I did sort of bump into that pink, that flower, and it's not a big deal. I can cover it up with watercolor, or because this is fairly high quality watercolor paper, it's 140 pounds. I'm just going to try and dab it off there, so not a big deal. And in it, if I wanted to have sort of, if I wanted to darken up some of these edges, I could go back in with my pencil and then kind of come back with a little bit more water. So the neat thing is you can really, like I said, just play around with the color to look like it was almost intentional to have that pink flower kind of over top of the turquoise there. These are not typically colors that I use in my work, so it's kind of neat to do something a little bit different. Oops, wrong way. I forgot which way was up. And so again, I will show you another flower. I think what I might do is maybe this yellow up at the top here. So I'm gonna grab my, just see what shade. You know what, that's gold. I'm actually gonna do turquoise, and I'm gonna do it just down here. And I'm gonna just try slightly different design. And when I look at this, I realize, you know, maybe I should have chosen a shade a little bit darker or a little bit lighter, because it's really hard to see. So immediately I'm gonna switch over maybe to this one. Actually, this is exciting. I think I'm gonna use this one that's a bit more green and go over top. And I think that's it. So I'm dipping the water-soluble Super Color Soft Pencil Crayon by CaranD'ache, the Swiss company, in water as I design this sort of intuitive flower. And I always work on 140-pound paper, especially if I'm intending to sell the work that I'm working on. This is, I'm not sure what flower I'm doing here, but it just feels intuitive, and I'm liking the way it's turning out. And I love how you see a little bit more of the green texture there from the pencil crayon. So as far as other mark making, I love to do dot work again with my fine point white Posca pen. Good white pens are very hard to come by. I use this one or the Japanese Uniball Signo pen. So Uniball, and then Signo is S-I-G-N-O. And I'm going to just go in and maybe add a little bit of dot work. Oops, I realized it was still a bit wet over there, and that's okay. Just gonna add some dot work in here and make a few a little bit bigger, just to add interest. And then maybe I'll do a little bit more dot work up here. It's starting to look very magical. And again, do a few larger dots. Whoops, that one became very large because my hand slipped. That's okay. I'm gonna go in and do my little birds. I love to do these sort of, they could be birds, butterflies. It's just something that you'll see in a lot of my work. I often have them in different orientations, just trying not to smudge anything. That's the only challenge I find with filming, is it can be really easy to smudge your work because you want to work a little bit faster than you normally would when you're off camera. Excuse me. Again, this little cold has gotten me today, so I apologize for the nasal voice here. I just happened to see my neon jelly roll. I think I had spelled it J-E-L-L roll in my other video, and I had a bit of a laugh. It's actually G-E-L-L-Y. So just sort of funny how I did that. I'm going to add these cute little, what I like to think of as like little bird footprints sort of, and just sort of put them in a different area to add maybe some contrast over this turquoise and add some interest, and the eye of the viewer will sort of move around a little bit with these little footprints. And lately I've been using an awful lot of the neons in my work. I really love them. So here, because I've added the white dots, I do like to go back and add black polka dots. So I'm gonna grab my, just looking for it, my black Posca pen with the fine tip, and just look to see where do I want to go here. I might actually, you know what I'm gonna do is maybe some line work. I'm gonna use some just line work going down like that. I just kind of changed my mind, and that's what I feel like doing. And one thing that I really like to do, so you can see I've added the marks in more than one place. I'm gonna go back in and add white beside the black. So you'll see a black dash mark vertically, and then I'm gonna add a white. And you can see just that little gesture really makes it so appealing to the viewer because they're seeing contrast, right? So if I just left the black dash, you know, that's great. It's really neat mark making. But I just feel like adding that white, sometimes I add metallics. I really like that look. I'm just gonna check how we are for time. We're okay. I still feel like I want to go back to this area with yellow. So you kind of have to go with your intuition. So if there's something that keeps speaking to you, but you're a bit scared of following through with it, just do it, because it's just paper, right? I'm just filming, right? Just kidding. Sometimes I get a little bit more, I guess I'm less loose when I'm filming, but I'm trying really hard to kind of change that, because it's just really different painting without knowing that you're videoing the process. So this one I'm going to let it dry. So this is an example again of mark making over top of watercolor paper, and my style, which is sort of yeah, it just has that dried watercolor background with lots of illustrative line work over top. I love these teardrops. I love the little roses, my moon. I often add words. So when this is dry, I might go back and add some words. I also love sort of this kind of scribble with pencil crayon. It looks like it sort of roughens up the artwork a bit, so it's more raw, and I like that a lot. So I could always do that in here, but what I like to do is I would put this up, and nighttime when I'm, you know, sitting down and watching TV or putting my feet up, if I'm not painting, I would put this up in a place where I could see it and look at it, like my fireplace. And I would just sort of see, okay, what do I love about this? And what marks do I want to do more of because they look so good? Is there a way I can make more dash marks, for instance? Or right now I'm loving this neon, but I want it to be a bit brighter. So I'm going over it again. So I do my editing process at the end of the day by just looking at it for a while. And then over time, I think it's trained my brain not to have to do that in order to, you know, finish a painting in what I would consider sort of my style. I'm going over this. Sometimes if you have very pigmented watercolors, it can kind of absorb through your acrylic paint. So in this case, my polka dots were picking up a little bit of the color. Yeah, so I'm going to let this dry and then go back to it. And I love the shimmer of that metallic. I believe that was the CaranD'ache watercolor set from Japan. CaranD'ache, K-U-R-E-T-A-K-E, the metallics. So yeah, and then what I want to do next, I'll probably do a separate video on this, but I've grabbed this awesome, I love the size of this Artist Loft Mixed Media heavyweight paper, pad. And this morning I just decided I really felt like doing some collage, and so this pattern, I picked this page out of Flow magazine, so page 85. So this was another artist, it was an artist spread, and I had pulled it out so long ago I can't even remember why I had initially pulled it out. I think the colors just really resonated with me, and they're not colors that I would typically use in my work, like these dark greens. I just love them, and I thought what a neat way to just show you guys some mark making and how a page in a magazine can be so inspiring. I mean, this one is quite obviously inspiring because it's artistic, it's beautiful, and it's clearly, again, somebody's artist style. But what I'm going to do is just tear it up and go with, you know, I love these pinks. I love these reds, and I'm just going to kind of go for it. And when I'm tired, I love doing these little collages. Normally I use matte medium, and right now I'm using just an archival Yoo-hoo glue stick, which is good just because with filming and stuff, with the matte medium, it gets quite messy. I put it on with a foam brush, and I always go under and over whatever it is I'm collaging on, because you can use your mixed media supplies over top of the matte medium. So in this case, again, I'm using glue, just a simple glue stick, but it's great for the purpose of this. I'm not planning on selling this, especially because I'm using a lot of work that is somebody else's. So just trying to decide. I'm going to throw in maybe a little bit more. I really like this pattern. This is neat. And so what I'll do is I'll continue just to do a bit of collage, and I'll do a follow-up video of mark making and watercolor and painting over top of this, just so you can kind of maybe get inspired and consider trying this process yourself. It's just such a great way if you're, you know, watching TV and you're just kind of craving to do something with your hands maybe, or you feel like your mind is a bit unsettled. You know, finding, there's lots of magazines at the thrift stores, or yeah, just finding even, you know, fashion magazines or home decor magazines. Color palettes and mark making inspiration are truly, I mean, everywhere. Okay, I'm really using a lot of this because I love it so much. So it's nice you can double speed videos on YouTube. Somebody had sent me in the mail these beautiful textured papers, and I've never used them. Ooh, they do rip really nicely. And I know you can get, they're called Japanese, I think they're called Locta papers, and they're really lovely, sort of more cotton feeling papers that are meant to be incorporated into artist work, doing collage and stuff. So that's another thing you can look at if you have a bit better of an art budget. You know, you can obviously find a lot of really cool collage items at the art store. And with a few other artists actually locally, we had traded papers one time. We got a whole stack of, you know, tissue paper, napkins, papers that we loved, and then we sort of cut them up and shared them amongst us. And it was just really a fun, neat process just to see how everybody used them a bit differently. So this is almost like putting on like a lace or something. I might just, for some reason, I want to put it right in the middle, so. So I added quite a bit of an inspiration on here. There's a lot to work with, and just gonna see if there's any colors I'm missing that I'd want to add. There's not. So I'm really happy with sort of what oh, yes, no, I did miss this little one. This looks like dandelions. I love this, and it's just a slightly different shade of blue. And I like the pattern. So we'll just put this maybe, I don't know, I kind of want to put it right here. And I'm not really thinking too hard about where to place these papers down. I'm going to let them dry, and then I'm going to come back with watercolor, maybe some gouache or acrylic paints, maybe my pencil crayons. I can see right now I want to get out this, this beautiful color. I'm going to actually dip my, my pencil crayon in and just sort of mimic it a little bit. And this is a really fun way of seeing what marks you love and which ones you may not be interested in copying or replicating. As artists, we all get inspired by each other. And it's totally okay to copy, especially when you're first starting and you're not selling your work. It's just always important to give credit where credit is due if you know that you're really kind of emulating another artist's style. Actually, a book that I love, I wanted to go back to is this book. When I started out, this book really helped me just feel better about copying and emulating and finding my own style through imitating. So Austin Kleon's Steal Like an Artist, such a great book. Just wanted to mention that. And yeah, I'm gonna finish this in another video, and I hope I've inspired you all in some way, and we'll see you soon.